So we have covered a lot about supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So we'll have a very quick introduction to semi-supervised learning. So semi-supervised learning is a type of machine learning algorithm that represents the intermediate ground between supervised and unsupervised learning. It uses the combinations of labeled and unlabeled data set during its training period. So it will be like partially you can consider as missing data when it comes to features, but here rather than the missing data will be in features, it would be the missing labels. Okay, so the end result where training data set would be given. So some of them will have end result with respect to the output or what exactly is expected with respect to the output. So while training and some are unlabeled. Okay, so they will like the machine is left to find out patterns as unsupervised learning does. Also with respect to semi-supervised learning, so it does is like what exactly it does is it finds algorithms pattern with the help of the supervised already labeled ones. Okay, so that gives a huge advantage over like supervised learning and also with respect to unsupervised learning. Okay, so also in the next video we'll be seeing the last type, which is known as reinforcement learning. Okay, so the basic difference between supervised and unsupervised is that the data set consists of output labels, training data associated with each data point, and unsupervised does not contain the same. Okay, we have already seen a detailed difference. So basically, semi-supervised is an important category that lies between supervised and unsupervised. So although semi-supervised learning is the middle ground of the supervised and unsupervised learning and operates on the data that consists of few labels. Okay, it mostly consists of unlabeled data and labels are costly. Okay, so for the corporate purpose, it may have few labels. So the disadvantage of supervised learning is that it requires handling of machine learning specialist or data scientist. Okay, and it also requires high cost of process since it is like labeled data, so manual process will be done. And unsupervised learning also has limitation spectrum for its application. Okay, so these are the two advantages with respect to like supervised and unsupervised. So to overcome these drawbacks of supervised and unsupervised algorithms, the concept of semi-supervised learning is introduced. So in this algorithm, the training data is the combination of both labeled and unlabeled. Labeled data exists with a very small amount, while it consists a huge amount of unlabeled data. Okay, so this is a thing which you need to remember. So initially, similar data is clustered along with its unsupervised algorithm, and then further it helps the label the unlabeled data into labeled data. So it is why labeled data is comparatively more expensive acquisition than unlabeled data. So we can just consider this with an example. So supervised learning is like a student where it is like supervision of an instructor, and with respect to unsupervised, the self-analyzing the same concept without the help of the instructor would come under unsupervised learning. So under semi-supervised learning, the student has to revise itself after analyzing the same concept under the guidance of the instructor. So that is how the semi-supervised thing learns. Even when it comes to our own example over here, you are here taking up a course, so almost finishing it. Okay, we are reaching end of the e-learning over here. So basically, if you are just going through all the tutorials what I'm teaching, that would be a supervised learning. Okay, and if at all you just go through the curriculum and go ahead and research with respect to those topics and learn on your own, it is unsupervised learning. Now, wherever I had been saying that try to like go through further topics or try to figure out by try to implement and know with respect to even Python coding and all, even when it comes to project phase, like there will be a lot of implementation or other trying out other algorithms would be the option. Okay, so basically whatever I have instructed already with respect to all the machine learning, you will revise yourself and analyze the same concept. So this is the best way of approach of learning. So hence semi-supervised has the advantage over supervised and unsupervised learning. So again, we had already seen assumptions when it comes to supervised learning and also few in unsupervised learning. So over here, what are those exact assumptions present in uh, semi-supervised learning? So like again, to work with unlabeled data sets, there has to be some relation between objects. Okay, so that's why we have a few assumptions. So first is continuity assumptions. So as per the continuity assumption, the object near each other tends to share the same group or label. Okay. This assumption is also used in supervised learning also, wherever there is a data set missing, and the data sets are separated by decision boundaries. So, but in semi-supervised, basically the decision boundaries are added with a smooth assumption in low density boundaries. Okay. So in supervised learning, it is like decision boundaries are present. Over in semi-supervised, we have decision boundaries, but with a smoothness assumption in the low density boundaries. Okay, over there we just focus more on high density. And cluster assumption. So basically, in this assumption, the data is divided into discrete clusters, and further the same clusters are shared the output. Okay, so even few output will be there. So based on that outputs only, like the whole cluster will have the same output label. So based on that also, that is another assumption. And finally, we have manifold assumption. So this assumption helps us to helps us to use distance and densities, and this data lie on the manifold of the fewer dimensions than input space. Okay, so the dimension data are created by the process that has less degree of freedom and may have hard model directly. So this assumption becomes practical if very high. Okay, so that is about the three assumptions. So basically here we'll just see the assumption with the use of densities and distance. So again, manifold rely on the few dimensions than the input spaces. Okay, and the process is created with very less degree of freedom. Okay, and a hard to model directly. So hence, whenever if this becomes this assumption becomes practical if I, okay, that means it can be a very robust machine learning algorithm if at all this assumption is completely followed. Okay, so now we'll see working of semi-supervised learning. So basically, semi-supervised learning uses pseudo labeling to train the model with less labeled training data than the supervised learning. So the process can combine neural networks and the training base. Okay, so the way the supervised learning is explained in few points, so we'll see them. So it is firstly, it trains the model with less amount of training data, similar to supervised learning model. The training continues until the model gets accurate results. So that is how the first step what we'll be following, and next the algorithm uses the unlabeled data with pseudo label in the next step. Okay, so now the result may not be accurate, but we'll be having a lot of unlabeled data with respect to pseudo labeling. Okay, and now the labels from labeled training data and the pseudo are linked together. Okay, so we'll have a link together, maybe finding out the correlation between them. Okay, then the input data is labeled training data and unlabeled training data are also linked. Okay, so these are also linked together, and finally in the end, so this is the very important step. So where again the model with the new combined input, as we did in the first step, it will be reducing the errors and improving the accuracy. So basically, we'll just again train the data. Now we have a lot of insights, right? We have a lot of information with respect to label data. So all the pseudo labels, what we have already applied with respect to the unsupervised part of the learning. So all this will be improvised. Again, maybe this might not be the completely adding up. So only few of them will be pseudo. So then what we do is we go back to step number one. Again, we'll train the model with less, again, maybe a moderate amount of supervised learning label data, and the training again continues with respect to adding pseudo labels in the next step, and also linking the training label data together. And finally, in the, like, after getting the end process, again restart with respect to training, so that your accuracy and the margin of error will drastically reduce while repeating this cycle. So this is the overview of how exactly supervised learning works. So again, the difference between semi-supervised, and next we'll be seeing about reinforcement. So already we know the difference between supervised, unsupervised, and semi-supervised. So with respect to reinforcement, a little insight. So it is a different from as how it works, and rewards and feedback. So basically, semi-supervised learning aims to maximize the reward by hit and trial actions. Okay, whereas semi-supervised, that was reinforcement. Reinforcement learning aims to maximize the reward by hit and trial actions. Whereas in semi-supervised learning, we train the model with less label data. So that is the main difference. Again, we'll walk through in detail about reinforcement learning in the next video. And what about real world examples with respect to semi-supervised learning? Okay, so speech analysis. So again, supervised learning semi-supervised learning has become widely popular in the industries. So this, in speech analysis, it is most classic example for semi-supervised learning, since the labeling of audio is most impassable task that like require for it many human resources. So manually someone has to sit and listen to that and give with respect to analyzing. Okay, so this like labeling is very like, again, cost of it will just drastically increase. So since the and this problem can naturally overcome with the help of semi-supervised learning models. So that is why it is one of the most commonly used when it comes to speech analysis. Next we have web content classification. So our content classification is critical and important to have label on each page. Okay, so it needs a mode of intervention. So this, like, still you might not get same level of accuracy when it comes to working on supervised. So basically having label data throughout for your web content classification, but still with respect to the trade-offs over here, having less level of data, again with respect to human has to sit and give the labels, right, for the training. So hence instead of manual process, you can still work around with respect to semi-supervised learning. So the problem can be reduced through semi-supervised learning. And like, again, Google also uses semi-supervised learning to rank a web page for a given query. Okay, so that's how the recommendations recommendations are ranked higher. Okay, so this and all is happening with respect to semi-supervised learning. Next we have protein sequence classification. So like, again, it comes towards biology sector. So DNA strands are large, so they require activate human interventions. So the rise of semi-supervised has become proximate in this field, so it does have very huge impact. So again, with respect to human intervention, and especially in the medical field, would need a lot of time and efforts. So this is another place where exactly our semi-supervised learning is used. And finally, text document classifier. So again, text document, obviously it wouldn't be very feasible to find a large number of labeled text data. So hence semi-supervised learning is an ideal model to overcome this. Okay, so it will flawlessly handle with respect to text document classifier. Okay, so that's all with respect to semi-supervised learning. Like, we don't have any much detailed info over here. So it was a quick overview of what exactly is semi-supervised. Again, with respect to all the conceptual ones, it lies between supervised and unsupervised. So over there only, like, we have thorough knowledge about supervised and unsupervised. So hence semi-supervised, I think it makes very easy to understand with respect to a small quick introduction.